Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Slice and Sip podcast by the Pizza Gang here at Dom DeMarco's 9785 West Charleston in Las Vegas, Nevada. My name's Tommy Canale. I am one of your hosts, but I'm not the main guy. The main guy is a proprietor of this place by the name of Albert Scalleat. Albert, how are we today?
Oh, we're wonderful, Tommy. We have a great group here today. I'm all excited.
We're going to talk some football in just a minute. Tell me what's going on here at Dom's on this beautiful patio that we're sitting here that I think is going to become my second home as much as I'm on it.
Well, you got excellent taste, my friend. Everything's going on here at Dom DeMarco's. Everybody knows we got the best pizza, best happy hour. We also have the best pasta dishes. You got to come in and try some of our pasta dishes, excellent salads. It's Dom DeMarco's where the wine flows and the good times roll. Come at a happy hour from 2 to 6. All wines by the bottle are half price. All wines by the glass are half price. All well drinks are half price. All beers are $5. What else you want? Happy hour in town, the best happy hour. And it's a happy hour from 2 to 6, not a happy hour for 3 to 4 or 4 to 5. 5 days a week. So if you're not coming to Dom's, you're missing out. But I'm so excited here. We got some sports heavyweights with us today, and you take it from there, buddy.
The Slice and Sip podcast continues to grow. We had a great show last time, and if people have missed that one, I would think you would recommend as well as I do they go back and listen to that one, right?
Yeah, that was a great one.
Well, Bernard Hopkins showed up out of the blue. We had Scotty Shetler and Bill Kraken, and then we had Jim Fiest here, who's with us in person. You were on the phone that time,
yeah, right.
Somewhere in Ohio in the Midwest, dodging tornadoes at the time. Fiest is back, and tell our listeners who else is with us today.
Well, we got Vinny Magliulo, one of the best from the South Point. And then we got my brother, best NFL handicapper in the country.
There he is.
This is true. We had Jim and Mike on last year right before the Super Bowl, and it was almost like they watched the game before it was played.
It was the best. They had to go. They should go back and listen to that one.
Yeah, they should. They hit everything. Everything.
They didn't miss a beat.
I'll say this, Jim Fiest, I mean, the leader in sports information and sports gaming industry with over 40 years of experience. We got Vinny here, 45 years of experience, inducted into the Sports Betting Community Hall of Fame. And your brother, Mike, and all he does is just pick winners.
That's all.
All that guy just does is pick winners. You know, top 5 finisher in the Hilton contest. He won the Pick'em at the Westgate. This is a heavyweight between 3 guys that if you don't take this information, listeners, to heart, and they're going to go division by division and give you an NFL outlook on what these teams are. If you can't make money from here, then I guess you should just come to Dom's and spend it anyway, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Let's bring him in. Mike Scalleat, welcome back to the show.
How you doing today, Tommy?
I am doing well.
I'm very excited. The season's finally here after 7 months of sitting by the pool and trying to pass time and yoga and everything else you can imagine in Las Vegas. But Thursday night we start, and I'm very excited with 2 first-class gentlemen here that know a lot more and been around more than me. But I'll give out some winners, that's for sure.
Yes, you will. There's nothing wrong with sitting by the pool. We do it all the time. So.
Every day. You see me. I'm there every day. I got a ritual I do. I don't miss.
That's right. Vinny, welcome to Slice and Sip.
Good to be here. I love these guys. You know, I know Albert and his brother since they opened Dom's here. And, of course, Jim, I know over 45 years and respect his work a great deal. I will tell you this. Here's what's important out there, folks. Not only Albert talked about the menu and how good the food is and a great happy hour and everything. Here's how I gauge, especially an Italian restaurant here in Las Vegas. My friend Frank is here visiting from back east. This is what's important, folks. Not only does the food have to be good, but the owner has a vested interest in the ball games, and there's always a ball game on, at least whatever game is on, and multiple TVs, all the games are on because the owner's in action. Always remember that, okay? When the owner's in action, the food, the drink, and the atmosphere is always better. So that's a special bonus here at Dom's.
Vinny, let me ask you this.
Yep.
True, you recorded a record number of props for a Super Bowl one year?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Tom, I did. This was early on when the industry was expanding in the mid '90s, and it was the Super Bowl between the Cowboys and the Bills. I mean, the Bills were in so many of those Super Bowls as we remember. So at the time, and Jim will remember this vividly. I'll go back to to Super Bowl, the first 20 Super Bowls, where we had the game, we had the total, we had the money line, and we had the halftime, and we started sprinkling in a couple who's going to score the first touchdown, things like that. Of course, Super Bowl 20 with Refrigerator Perry, Willie score a touchdown, one-sided, by the way, one-sided. Okay. I think we're still paying that bet off. Jim is probably still cashing tickets on that one. But the reason I bring up the record that you were kind enough to mention, as places started to expand, I said, you know what, I want to give some, we want to do something different this year. So it was about 1995. The MGM had just opened, and it was a major book. And some dear friends of mine were over there running it. Rich Baccelleri, who does a great job in the industry, was running the book. So I walk in the office one day, and it was the day after conference title Sunday. And I said to the staff, nobody goes to lunch today. That's it. And everybody just kind of looked, and I just kept walking. So looking at me, what the hell is Vinny so bugged about? What's the story? I walk out of my office. I said, I want everybody to start thinking right now, what would you want to bet on in the Super Bowl that you've never been able to bet on before? So I had my staff get creative. I said, talk to customers, see what people have not been able to bet on up until this point. And I think we put up about 75 props at that time, which at their time was a record. Of course, now,
right.
There's so much creativity, and the guys in the industry and the ladies in the industry do a great job. There's hundreds of ways to bet it. But at the time, it really exploded. And I think I kind of borrowed something from my days, my not only to working in the book in the early days of my career, but worked in the pit as well. So I'm thinking to myself, during the course of a football game, if you look at a blackjack table, right, with 6 decks in a shoe, how many decisions there are during the course of a football game? There's 36 combinations on the dice on the crab table. I said we have to get more decisions. Let's get more interest instead of just hanging a game, watching a game, and then we don't do anything until halftime, and then we wait. So that had a lot going into that thought process, and now, of course, the industry does such a tremendous job with the Super Bowl, especially.
Undisputed champion in sports handicapping, Jim Fiest. Welcome back to Dom DeMarco's.
Oh, good to be here. First of all, I'm looking forward to dinner or lunch after this because I know that they're going to put on a big feast. So
yes, they will. You guys are going to get through in the NFL Outlook. I'll let you guys decide who's going to take it where. Let's start in the AFC East. Where you guys want to go?
AFC East, we're going to talk about the Jets because everybody's talking about the Jets and they're hyping up the Jets. And Aaron Rodgers, 40 years old, coming off an Achilles injury. Really, you're betting on whether this guy, A, wants to put in the work to win, B, can he recover from the Achilles, C, do they have the offensive coordinator that can call the plays, because they certainly haven't done a very good job with that. And everybody's putting these guys into the Super Bowl, but they got a couple teams to get by. The Bills, how about them? The Dolphins, how about them? And maybe the other team we won't even talk about. But
and you didn't mention they got to have a line to keep this guy healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Mike's going to – I know Mike will dig into that as well. And the question there, of course, the biggest question I have is, will the Patriots even win a game? They may not. How about you, Mike?
Well, the win total's 4.5, I believe, right?
I bet
that's
under.
right. Yep.
I would take the under.
Yeah,
One of the
me too.
lowest totals
Me too.
on the board.
One of the lowest totals of all time. But going back to the Jets, if Rodgers is healthy, they have a shot. Maybe, win the division, playoffs. It all depends on him. I think the line, well, we're going to see Monday night when they meet the Niners how good the line is. I think they're a very good team. Hackett, the offensive coordinator, hasn't been that, even though Rodgers loves him, he wasn't too good with him when he was with him before, or in Denver he didn't do so well. But you're talking about the other two. Miami, you lose Fangio, the defensive coach. I think Miami's going to be – I think they're going to be a little down. But all the boys got their money now. Tua, Waddle, Hill, they all got their money. We'll see. Buffalo, they lost a lot of players. Milano's still hurt. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to be. I think the Jets, this is their shot with those teams, to me, not being as good as they've been in the past. This would be their shot if he's healthy to win that division. After that, I don't know. But – this would be their chance.
We have to remember, Mike, that last year 66 players started NFL games at quarterback. Now, that to me, that's more than 2 per team because there's only 32 teams. All these guys that are starting are not going to finish. all these guys that are starting are not going to play every game throughout the year. So now we got to look at how good is that offensive line, A. B, how healthy are these quarterbacks after week 3, 4, after getting hit a few times? And you got a 40-year-old guy with an Achilles, which is not an easy. I had a lot of hamstring stuff when I used to be a runner. These things are hard to recover from. I never had the Achilles problem, but I know guys that have, and they've never recovered.
And he's playing all of his home games on that same turf, which is artificial turf, which is dangerous. And if you ask any professional, if they had a choice to play on natural grass or to play on turf, they would pick grass the whole time. It would be easy to anoint the Jets because they're all in this year. And in full disclosure, I grew up a Jet fan. I mean, I remember that guarantee in Super Bowl III as a kid. But in this business, you can't. You have to be a fan of what. In my case, where do we stand as a house? In your guys' case, is who you're a fan of, who you bet on. You might be a Jet fan in week 1, but in week 2, you're going to be against them. So, it'd be very. If you look at the division, you guys bring up absolutely accurate points. I mean, let's face it. Patriots in full blown transition. If you look at overall talent, the Dolphins may have the most overall talent, especially at the skill positions. The Jets are all in. I wouldn't overlook the Bills because they have the best quarterback in the division, and even though he takes a lot of hits, he's had the most durability, I would say, of the teams that are there. We don't know yet about New England, obviously. So. Allen is the great X factor. Now he's got to hold. He's got to develop a receiving core. They've got to play some defense. You mentioned Milano, Mike. It's going to be difficult for them on defense. But you know something, they know how to get there. They find a way. And I would say that if you're looking for maybe a value or something sneaky, it might very well be the Bills.
Vinny, let me ask you this real quick. Patriots under 4.5 total wins.
If you're asking me, I mean, I set the number, so obviously I think it's going to be a challenge. I mean, they're the biggest dog in the first week. They're a 9-point dog in the first week. That should tell you something. I don't like to give out sides because it kind of seems like I'm skewing it. But I mean, there's a reason we put them up as one of the lowest total. Them and the Panthers as the lowest totals for the year. It's going to be a real struggle for them to get above.
We should look a little bit at head coaches. Who's got the best head coach? Who's got the best offensive coordinator? Who has the best defensive coordinator? You take a look at the Dolphins, and I'll go along with Vinny with this. Skill position-wise, the Dolphins have that. And they're going to score health-wise if they can stay healthy. Yeah. They got an offensive coordinator, offensive head coach. They'll put points up. They're going to score a lot of points. It's going to be very difficult to stop them. They got the quarterback that can get the ball deep. They certainly have the wide receivers that can get deep, and they can catch the ball. A lot of skill position talent there. I don't know who the hell's going to stop them. Now, if you can't stop them, you got to score with them. Now, Allen does not have the talent that he had before. A lot of players have gone from there. He's got a defensive head coach. You got the Jets. I don't know what the hell to make with the Jets. I don't like their offensive coordinator, and I really don't understand what Aaron Rodgers is. He could be in a dark place someplace on Oswanga, whatever it is, by fourth week. So I don't know. And then, of course, the Patriots, they probably shouldn't even be in the league this year.
You're saying Miami's a pick in that division?
I would go with Miami at this point, health-wise, going into the season. What the hell happens after they start getting hurt, which will happen?
Mike, who's your pick before I go to the AFC North?
I'll take the Jets because Miami's going to miss Vic Fangio a real lot, Jim. You're right. They're going to score. But are they going to be able to stop people? I don't think so. But we'll find out.
AFC North, Vinny, take it from there.
AFC North. Well, when you look at that division, you could argue that that's the toughest division in the league when you look at it. Let's face it. Now, let's start with the Bengals, and the reason I bring up the Bengals, not as the favorite, they're certainly not the favorite for the division, but because of their record last year, they inherited a more manageable schedule than the rest of the teams in the division, right? I mean, they've got to play Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and the Ravens 6 times, which is going to be difficult. And, of course, they've got to stay healthy. They're already starting the season with a hold in. We don't have holdouts anymore. We got guys with contracts now that are holding in. So one of their leading receivers, obviously, is still not at practice. You got to hope that Burrow can stay healthy. You know, their offensive line has been questionable for the last few years, and they've got a couple of injuries there already going into week 1, and one of their defensive ends is their edge rushers is out for the first month or 5 weeks of the season. So I think you start there, but a more manageable schedule. Schedule-wise, you look at the Steelers. If you look at the Steelers last month and a half of the season,
Brutal.
You may as well go over to the Middle East and then join the Navy and the Marines over there, because that's how difficult that schedule looks. And you got the Ravens, who are going to open up on this first game, looking to get some revenge against the Chiefs. I would say it's certainly and in Cleveland. I mean, who's got a lot of talent, but listen, Watson is a big question mark. Chubb, is he going to be able to come back from his injury last year? I think there's a few questions there. I'm not I mean, who's got the best quarterback in that division is where it starts. It's probably the Ravens, given their defense, which should be better than last year. They made some adjustments. Their offense is going to be better. For me, it's the Ravens that are favored in that division, and for the reasons I outlined.
Cleveland's always a team for me that seems to get to the hump, but can't find a way to get over it.
Yeah.
Go back 25, 30 years, they haven't
About
done
56 years.
Okay, there you go. You're from Ohio.
No, I'm not from Ohio. My wife is from Ohio, but I'm from Pennsylvania.
Okay, so let's get in
I'm
with
close.
the AFC North
I'm
for
close.
you. What's your feelings of the North?
For me, it's a simple call. I got to go with the Ravens. They got the quarterback. He's very talented. I don't know what the hell they were doing in that last game when they lost.
Sure.
Their game plan was horrible. They've got some new pieces there. Adding Henry is huge to me because this is a guy, even if he doesn't have everything in his tank that he once did, this guy is a super talented guy, and you put him in the backfield with Jackson, this is dangerous. They have a talent, and they got a good head coach. Yeah, they made some mistakes. The offensive coordinator last year in that last game, I don't know what the hell he was doing. He was on drugs or something, but a bad game plan. And I like the Ravens. Burrow, I love Burrow, but he has a history of not making it through the year. Okay, the Browns, Deshaun Watson, the worst trade in the history of football to pay this idiot $250 million or so guaranteed money. He doesn't need to play. Somebody gives you $250 million today. Are you going to show up here tomorrow? No, you're not.
No, but I'm not an idiot. I'm the smart guy for taking the $250 million.
He's very smart.
You're the idiot for paying
after having 27 women charge him with all kinds of stuff, and you give him come on. The owner of that place needs a drug test.
Mike, where are you at with the North?
I'll say Pittsburgh, I don't really like because what Vinny said with the schedule and the indecision with the two quarterbacks that are going to be battling, I don't think either one is really top notch. Cleveland, it depends on Watson. If he plays good and Chubb comes back healthy, I like them a lot. Now, the only two quarterbacks that have beaten Mahomes in the last so many years are Burrow and Brady. Now, we know Brady's in the booth. So if Burrow's healthy, I know Vinny said they got some issues, but they got the right schedule. If he's healthy, I put them ahead of the Ravens. I don't care if they got Henry. I don't care who comes. They lost a couple defensive guys. Jackson, to me, I know he's an MVP a few times, but he hasn't won a big game. And I'm not a Harbaugh fan to start with. So I'm not with them. I give Cincinnati the edge because Burrow can beat Mahomes. If he's healthy and those receivers are happy, we'll go that way. That's how I feel about it.
Let me stay with you, and you kick off the South. What's your feelings with the South?
All right, we got Tennessee. We'll just let them go because I can't see much there. The quarterback from Kentucky, Will Levis. I think he's terrible. The Colts. Well, we'll see. Richardson, I hope he learned a lesson. I was watching the game last year when he thought he was playing at Florida, and he's going to run into NFL linebackers, and he got what you get coming. You get laid out. You don't play the rest of the year. Now, if he got smart, over his 7, 8 months, 10 months, whatever he had. Maybe you give them a little shot because they got a running back and they got some receivers. Jacksonville, they got all the players. Now, can this coach who won a Super Bowl one time and after that he's writing books like he's the new Don Shula or whoever you want to say, Peterson. They got the players. And the other team, I think, is the best, Houston.
You like
They
Houston?
got all the players. Dell's coming back from the injury. They signed Hopkins, I believe, right?
Yep.
The coach got them playing. I think they were on the come. Now I think they're there. That's my opinion.
Vinny?
Add Mixon too. I mean, there's a reason there you've got to lay 6-5 for them in the division. The flip side for the Texans is from the Bengals is they inherited a tougher schedule, and they played their way into it. You know, you have a successful year, you're going to have a tough, and that's how the NFL does their scheduling. But they've also upgraded their team, both offensively and defensively. They had a good draft as well. So for me, I think it's the Texans for sure. You know, Indy, you're always trying to, it's almost like there's always this anticipation with Indy, right? Even when Andrew Luck was there, you're always on the edge of your seat with them. Of course, they've got a great. First week game against the Texans. Jacksonville, Mike brings up an interesting point about Peterson. It's back and forth. It's up and down, all from year to year. And then, of course, in Tennessee, just a rebuild. Kind of Tennessee is not quite the rebuild as
New England,
as the Patriots, but certainly a rebuild in that division. So. I would have to say, Jim, for me, it's the Texans because of certainly their talent.
Okay, Will Levis, young guy, he does really good at picking girlfriends. He wins. He wins that battle.
But can he win on the field? He can win off the field.
He's very talented, and he's improving. I'm not going to talk about winning this, but the Texans are the team. Richardson for the Colts. His style of play is the style of play that says a couple games in, he's going to get one hit that's going to put him out. It did last year.
Yep.
And I don't see that changing. You got to remember something. This team had Andrew Luck years ago, came out of Stanford. They murdered him because they wouldn't build the offensive line to protect him. The guy got killed. This is the same owner that was there then. It hasn't changed. I don't see an upside for this team until they get better management. The Jaguars, Lawrence has never lived up to what they said he was going to be. This is the second coming, this guy, right? Not.
No.
It hasn't happened. To me, this is the Texans all the way.
I'll stay here with you. AFC West, where are you going? First off, are you a Harbaugh fan?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. But he doesn't have the team.
No, he
He's
doesn't.
lost players. He doesn't have the quality of depth on offense and defense that he had. Herbert, we talk about him for years. He has the talent, but he had the worst coach. Staley was horrible. Horrible. Should never have been in that position. Should have fired him 2-3 years ago. But this is the same team that got rid of Marty Schottenheimer after a 14-2 season. Come on. Brain power? No, it's not there. The Raiders, I don't see them going anywhere. The Chiefs are going to win this division. And my surprise for second is the Broncos. There's a marriage between Nix and Sean Payton. It's working. And Payton's a good coach. Nix is the kind of quarterback that will listen to the coach, manage the game, not turn the ball over. Broncos are dangerous, not to win the division, but maybe to slip in the playoffs.
Vinny, it's you.
Well, obviously it's the Chiefs' division to lose, right? I mean, they're one of the bigger favorites in terms of the division. You have to lay 3-1 there. The coach is the difference there. Andy Reid and to Jim's point, the symmetry between coach and quarterback, who's the absolute best, right? I mean, there's no play that's dead. They could come with a certain scheme, and as long as Mahomes is under center, he's going to make something happen, even if it's left-handed. So with Mahomes, as long as he's under center, then they're obviously very dangerous, and Andy Reid prepares his team just about better than anybody.
Let me ask you this. What's the odds for them to do 3 in a row?
They believe it or not, people are betting them, and if you can find 6 or 7 to 1, you'll be lucky, because I've seen as low as 5 out there. So I mean, we opened them at like 8 to 1 during the playoffs last year, but those are gone. So if you can find them, better than 5, right, Jim? I would say you have to grab them.
I'll throw something in here. I got the Chiefs to get in the Super Bowl. I got an NFC team to go in the Super Bowl. I know nobody's going to agree with me. I got the Lions meeting the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
There you go.
Mike, where are you at here with the West?
NFC West. Well, here's what I'll say about the Raiders. I don't know how many games they're going to win, but they're going to cover the spread a lot. That's my opinion about them.
That's because they got a defense. They just can't score.
Right. Their games are going to be low scoring, but they're going to cover the spread. Till they get the right quarterback, then they can win, because they have some talented guys. They got the best 2 kickers in the league, field goal, punter. They got Crosby. So they have some talented guys. All right. The Chiefs will give them the nod, of course. I'm not in agreement with Jim with Denver. Sean Payton, well, if Nick's is what he thinks, then okay. But we're going to find out. We're going to find out in week 1. When he goes against Seattle, and the defensive coordinator for the Ravens is now with Seattle, and if he thinks that he's going to do whatever he did at all the colleges he played, I don't think so. I'll just leave it there. Now, this Harbaugh brother I like, but I don't know what he's going to do. You get rid of all those weapons, the receivers, Eckler, everybody. I think he has a plan. It's going to maybe take a few years.
Yes.
Now, the defense, if Bosa and Khalil Mack stay healthy and play, but they got to stay healthy, then I think they could be in the second spot. But if those guys get hurt, because Bosa's a sensitive guy, he gets hurt a lot, it's going to be tough, because Herbert, I think this is going to be a running attack for them like he did in college, Harbaugh, till these receivers graduate or he gets some better at some point, because like I said, they lost the main 2 guys, plus the tight end Everett. So you give it to Kansas City, then I think it's a battle, the Chargers and Denver, and we'll see how it goes. I'd rather have Harbaugh in this spot than Peyton, in my opinion. But Knicks, well, we're gonna see. Herbert can do it, but he had 2 bad coaches. They were terrible. But that owner's so cheap, he kept them till they choked. So now we'll see. And my nephew's here. He's a big Charger guy. He knows what I'm saying. They have the players, but get the right coach.
He's got Kansas City. Who are you taking out of the AFC?
Oh, I'll take Kansas City, but I'm not putting them in the Super Bowl.
Do you know who you're going to put in the Super Bowl?
Of course.
Who are you putting in?
Bengals, Eagles.
Bengals, Eagles,
Whoa.
Lions, Chiefs. I won't put you on the spot. Or do you have a pick?
Well, the Chiefs are certainly, it's hard to ignore, but I'll go a little contrarian too. I think the Ravens get things right. They're going to see some support, I think, to get to the Super Bowl for the AFC.
Let's stay here with you, Vinny. NFC East.
NFC East, for years this was the division in football. Right, Jim, when we were cutting our teeth way back when. But listen, it's about the Eagles now. I think Shannon's finally realized that he has to have better coordinators, both offensively and defensively, and I think he did that, right? Especially with Fangio. I think he let his ego get away with him the last couple of years. He's had a tremendous amount of talent. I think it's certainly the Eagles' division to lose. The Giants, not only do they lose their best offensive player in Saquon Barkley, but they lose him to the Eagles. He's only going to help the Eagles. So Washington, I would say, is in a good mode. I mean, they're transitioning well. I think they're going to be improving, but certainly not as good as the Eagles are. And then the Cowboys, Jim brought up a point about scoring points, like Miami scoring points. I think the Cowboys are a little better defensively than that, but just too much
noise.
The Cowboys find ways to lose games instead of winning games, but they're going to win a lot of games. They're going to score a lot of points too, and as long as you can score points in this league, especially with some of the new rules, right? The kickoff rule is basically another play from scrimmage now. Let's face it.
Yep.
And the new tackling penalty, defenders are going to have to get used. I think we're going to see a lot more penalties, which I can tell you, full disclosure from my side of the counter, we've had to bump up these totals How they get bet is a different story, but we've had to bump up the totals in some cases by a point and a half. And in anticipation and just watching how the new rules impacted things in the preseason.
How good can Jaden Daniels be?
I think he can be very good, but I think it's going to take some time. I don't know. I mean, last year, the situation in Texas with Stroud was enormous. I think there's so much pressure put on these quarterbacks to produce, and they're coming out younger too. There's a big difference when Dan Marino and Elway came out. They graduated. There's an awful lot of demand and pressure put on these young quarterbacks, and you ask them what's the biggest adjustment. It's the power and the speed. Jaden Daniels is going to go through a learning process in a division that has the Eagles, that has the Cowboys who can score, and then of course in a conference that's got a great Northern Division, and of course the Niners to contend with.
Jim, I'm going to say this about the Commanders and Jaden Daniels. I don't think he makes it through the season. I think he's going to get hurt. I don't think he's built for the NFL yet.
Well, anybody that is built like that and is going to run the ball, and you're going to get hit by some very, very strong, massive,
Trucks.
fast guys. And I don't want to be hit with them. I'd be dead the first time they hit me. But, the difference between going back to 1993 when you had the quarterbacks that came up, Marino, et cetera, in college, those guys didn't play pro-style offenses for the most part. Now, the colleges play pro-style offenses. So why are they more prepared to step in and play? A, they're paid very little money, so you can pay the other people more money because of the salary cap issue, and they're on the rookie contract. And B, they're more used to playing a pro-style offense because they just did it for a couple of years in college. They didn't do that back in the 90s. They're doing it now because everything about college football, selling tickets, scoring points, and these guys being prepared to go to the NFL. College kids go to college because they want to go someplace where they can get elevated to the next level. And that's why the coaches in the college football are playing that style so they can get the better recruits for those positions. So, amen, they get into the pros. They want to play they want to play them so they can pay the other guys on the team, defensive, offensive, to get better talent around them. So that's why it's going that way.
Eagles division to lose?
Oh, well, the Cowboys are like my jinx team. Jerry Jones has destroyed this team as far as championship material. Yeah, they will score 12, 13, or win 13 games every week, 2, 12, I don't know, this year, maybe 9, 10. That's where I see them, about a 9 or 10 win team.
You have them in the Super Bowl, so obviously you have them in this division.
The Eagles I like, but I'll comment on the Giants. They paid Danny Dimes and they didn't pay Barkley. That's why they're in the position they're in. I'll leave it at that. The Cowboys, like Jim said, Jerry Jones, he's a definite problem. When he should have paid Dak, he didn't pay him. Now he's going to either pay through the nose or he'll lose him next year. He very bad decisions as far as I go there. The Eagles, they got the right coordinators, but the key is with Sirianni. Over last year, I heard different things that he lost the locker room, whether on the radio, TV, whatever I watch and listen to. Now, if he hasn't solved that, I don't care who's playing. It's not good. If he solved that issue, Hurts saying they did, then I think they're the team. Washington, you got to give them time with this kid you said won't last the season. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But when you're a running quarterback, you're going to get hit. It's like Michael Vick said. I wish I had learned to slide earlier in life. I would have lasted longer.
That's right.
So that's the same with Richardson and all these guys that want to run and think they're whoever they think they are. But it's the Eagles to win or lose. The Cowboys, they get to the playoffs, they choke. You see what they did last year. Green Bay, 7-point favorite. They get destroyed. Dak hasn't won a big game. Mm-hmm. McCarthy won a Super Bowl. He had he had the best quarterback. He only won one. Winning one is great, but that don't say a lot to me.
Transitioning to the NFC North, I think it's the Lions division, obviously, to lose. But, Mike, I want to stay with you. Caleb Williams is now the new quarterback for the Bears, and he's got every receiver possible to throw this ball to. Are they the sleeper team of this division?
It's going to depend on how he plays. You're right. They got the players. I don't know about the coach. I don't give him a lot of credit. But if Caleb can play, they should be in the running. I think they finish third no matter how good he does. I think Minnesota. If he doesn't play good, then they'll be last and Minnesota third. But I don't agree with the Lions. No, I'll take the Packers.
You take the Packers in this division.
Yeah, I don't like the Lions coach. They got a lot of good players. I think they take a little decline this year. They had a lot of hoopla last year, and they play hard for this guy. But Love really came on. I like their coach a little bit more than I like the Lions coach. Now, it depends, who's healthy and who's not. It's a battle. The Packers or the Lions, I'll lean with the Packers. It's going to be one or the other. But the Bears, all depends on the quarterback. I mean, the defense is a little better. Minnesota, they got a good coach. Sam Darnold, I don't know. McCarthy maybe next year because he got hurt. Sam Darnold, to me, is mediocre. They got the receivers. The running back, they lost the running back. So we'll see. It's a tough division, but the Bears third maybe.
Okay, Vinny, I'm going to come back to you because I want you to start the South. I know you're a big Lions fan, but are you in agreement? Is Green Bay the next team or is Chicago the sleeper?
Chicago's going to be third or fourth in this. They're not going to. You got another quarterback coming out of college who was there sometimes and sometimes he wasn't there. And they even questioned his maturity when he was in college. Mm-hmm. He's getting a lot of ink, a lot of press, a lot of hype right now. He likes to run the ball, and I don't know about this running the ball and staying healthy for the whole season. There's been a lot of questions about their coach over the years. I don't think that's changed much. No, I like the Lions. You got Goff, who's been to the Super Bowl. He almost made it to the Super Bowl last year. When you look at Love, I like what he did at the end of the year, but that was about a 7 or 8 game sample size. You got Goff, and he's been around 3-4 years, and he's done pretty well. And they supported. He lost his ego when they traded him off the Rams, which McVay screwed up the Super Bowl and blamed it on Goff. It wasn't Goff that called the plays. It was him. So he just pointed the finger at somebody else, threw him out. They got Stafford, and that was good because they won a Super Bowl with him. That's all great. But Goff is better than they gave him credit for then, and he's still good. They got the team, they got the offense, they got the defense, and they love their coach. Yeah, I like the Lions to be in the Super Bowl.
You as well? I mean, not the Super Bowl, but do you like him for this division?
Yeah, they deserve to be the favorite. Now, obviously, they've got some injuries that they incurred. Particularly, they're still, their kicker, who was very, very good last year. He's out for the season. He tore his hamstring. So they're I think they've had a pretty good opportunity to audition some legs during the preseason. A talented team. I think they can build off of last year's success. Goff has proven to be a solid quarterback. Love, you know what? If you look at down the stretch and what they did in the playoffs, and of course he got anointed with an enormous contract. Good for him. I think we want to see some more out of him. I do think the Bears are going to be improved. I mean, this division. It wouldn't shock me if 3 of these teams wound up in the postseason because there's a lot of talent. The Bears are going to be better than they were last year defensively because they did pick up some talent in free agency, and their defense was pretty good last year. Caleb Williams, Jim brought up a key point. I think from a maturity standpoint, is he up to NFL standards? I think they anointed him as captain today too. If I think I heard on the way in too, which tells me a lot about how much respect they have for him. He's bigger than Jaden Daniels too, so and I think he's got a bigger arm and he's probably got some more weapons too. So I think they could be a dangerous team, and of course the Vikings, in rebuild mode, and that's pretty evident by what they've done in the offseason. But Lions are the favorite for the division, and they deserve it based on what they did last year and the composition of the team.
NFC South, is this the weakest division in the NFL?
Yes, no question about it. I mean,
is this a toss-up? Who can come out?
No, I don't think so. I think it's actually I think it's the Falcons division. I think that the Falcons were a better team than their record indicated last year. I think they got better in this offseason, particularly at quarterback. When you look at Tampa Bay gutty, well coached. And you know what? They surprised a lot of people in the last month of the season last year, and they're a tough out. But the Saints, I'm not convinced on what the Saints can do. I mean, there's a reason. I mean, you've got to lay 3-2 for the Falcons in this division because of the talent they have, particularly at quarterback. So I think it's and then of course the Panthers are. The Panthers are. It's almost like an expansion team at this point. So, but it's definitely the Falcons, and then the Buccaneers and the Saints.
Mike?
Well, I'll say the Panthers should improve this year. Bryce Young should have a better year. New coach, different things. Atlanta, I hear what Vinny's saying. Now you got however old Cousins is, he's coming off a big injury. They didn't sign Penix in the draft for no reason but to think that this guy may not be in the best shape, maybe gets hurt. Who knows what they're thinking? They wouldn't have signed him if they thought that Cousins is going to take them to the promised land and win that division. So I'll give the edge. New Orleans, just forget about Carr's washed up. The coach has no, these defensive coaches, besides Belichick, who's winning Super Bowls? I don't see it. He'll get fired at the end. They've had talented guys. Thomas is always hurt. Kamara, he's not a good, he could run, but I'm not a big fan. I think Baker with the receivers and getting their money and all, I think they're going to edge out Atlanta. They play hard. The coach is mediocre to me, but they still have some defensive guys. But I like their team more set up than Atlanta. Atlanta has the players, but it's relying on Cousins. Cousins made more money than everybody in this room put together, and he hasn't won anything. So now's the time. Everybody's anointing him like they anoint as we were talking, or who's getting anointed. He's been anointed too, 3-2, like Vinny said. I got to see it. This guy's good on a Sunday afternoon, but on a Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night, he's one of the worst. So I got to see it.
Jim?
If you want to go broke fast,
Okay.
follow the media hype and bet on it. You'll lose all your money and need a job. You probably come over here and
Be a dishwasher.
Okay. No, I'm going with the Tampa Bay. They've won it a couple years in a row. Baker is a former number 1 draft choice. Went to Cleveland, which is like the worst places to go in the world based on their record for 50, 60 years. But he's learned how to win. He went out to L.A. under McVay for a game or two and looked pretty damn good. Goes to Tampa. He's winning. He knows how to win. He's a tough guy.
He's gritty.
He knows how to play.
Tough kid.
No, he's a little short, but he's got balls. Okay, I think I'm allowed to say that.
You can say anything you want on the show.
Okay, good. I like that. No restrictions. I love
There's
it.
no restrictions. I have no restrictions on this show.
I like Baker. I like Tampa. I do. Everybody, what they said about Atlanta is true. They got the talent on paper, but you don't win on paper. And as Cousins, as Mike said, he's made a lot of money in the league, not bringing any titles home. He doesn't do well in the big game. He's an older, I don't know his age, but he's coming off an Achilles also. And it's still the same thing as Rodgers. They got to recover from that. Penix will probably be the quarterback by week 4 or 5 because something will happen to Cousins. Now, can they win with him? We don't know. We don't know anything about him except in college he looked good. No, I think this is Tampa Bay all the way.
NFC West staying with you. Niners division to lose?
They have some issues, but I can't take it away from them. I mean, you got the Rams. Is always going to be dangerous. McVay can coach. They got Stafford. They got, Puka Nacua. You got a lot of players there. They did lose the defensive guy, Arnold. And the Cardinals are going to be dangerous because the Cardinals are another team, they're just like Miami. They're going to score a ton of points. They're going to put points up. As long as the quarterback can stay healthy, they're going to score a lot of points. They're not going to stop anybody. So bet them over. I'm looking for a lot of overs out of that team. The 49ers are the team. The Rams would be second. The Seahawks are going to fall off quite a bit, although I think their defense will improve. The The question there is their quarterback. He's only had one good year in 10 years, and that was 2 years ago. Last year, he wasn't all that much. So I'm looking at the 49ers to win it. But what scares me about the 49ers is, they win in the regular season, but in the big game, he's been in the head coach has been in the Super Bowl 3 times, once as an offensive coordinator. He's had a lead in the fourth quarter 3 times. He's lost all 3 games. That bothers me. There's something about that. Is he too much of a system quarterback or head coach that he can't make adjustments? I don't know. There's something wrong with that to me. So I'm looking at the 49ers to win it, the Rams second.
Vinny.
Yeah, it's hard to go against the Niners as far as being the favorite for the division. You have to lay 2-1. The Rams, I would have liked more. First of all, I think McVay, to Jim's point, is a better coach. But losing Donald and now their defensive captain as well, so their defense is going to have to be revamped. And I know they drafted very well the kids out of Florida State, but it's going to take some time. Don't forget. Donald got double teamed. That helped that defense. That helped everybody else on that defense while he was there. I think they have the best quarterback, and the receiving core is terrific. By the way, I don't think any team has done a better job in the 4th and 5th and 6th rounds in the draft in the last 5-6 years than the Rams, and that's where that's your bread and butter, and they've done a tremendous job of doing that. They could be a dangerous team, but I've got to see how the defense, transitions this year. The Niners, you know what? At least Ayuk, that's behind them now. Now they got to square things away with Trent Williams. That's just to get everything in sync. But yeah, I mean it's their division, and I'm going by what we hang and what people bet on, and they're Niners crazy for sure. And they like them for they like them and the Eagles for the NFC, but the Rams could be a dangerous team. We saw how dangerous the Cardinals are last year. They beat some great teams, playoff teams, on the road. In fact, they went into Baltimore and beat the Ravens. They went into Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers. So they play that. This may be cliche. Say they play hard. Does everybody play hard? Because they're professional? No, they don't. They really don't. They put it out. And I think if Kyler Murray is healthy, as Jim pointed out, then they could be dangerous. Seattle, I'm not convinced. With Geno Smith at quarterback, with all due respect, but you look at the rest of the quarterbacks, and the quarterback is the key position, right?
What about you, Mike? You in agreement with these two?
No, but I'll say this.
Who do you got?
Well, I've been a Rams fan since '67. I don't always pick them, but I'm going to pick them in this time. But I'll say two of the most improved teams to me are going to be Arizona and Seattle. When Murray came back last year, they went, 6-1 maybe at the end. I see a big improvement with them. Seattle with the new coach coming from the Ravens, that defense is going to be better. He's got all the offensive receivers, Geno Smith. He's got a great runner in Warren. I think they're going to be very improved, both of them. The Rams, they lose Aaron Donald, big problem. Like Vinny said, they double team, triple team. They drafted well. They just lost one of their guys. They didn't want to pay him, so they lost him, Floyd, which is a big setback. But McVay's a real sharp guy. But like Jim said earlier, he cost them the Super Bowl. He let Belichick out-coach him years back when he's talking about Goff. Because Goff, he's calling the plays. I mean, it was 10-3, 13-3, whatever. But forget about that. The Niners, till they sign Trent Williams, they're going to have a problem. Who's going to open up the holes? If you look, when he don't play, if they're a losing team.
Yes, they're horrible.
And if McCaffrey gets a little nick and he's out with him, it's another losing episode. The coach, 0 for 3 in big games. He's not his father by no means. And I'm never going to bet him till he wins one. I've been against him in all 3 of those games, and I won and he lost. So that's I say about him, Shanahan. I just think the Rams got a good shot. They draft well. They should have beat the Lions in that playoff game. He punted instead of McVay. supposed to be a gambling kind of guy. He didn't. He punted, and it was a 1-point game, which we covered the spread, which I was happy about. I got the money, but I'd like to see them have won that game because I think they go into Frisco and they beat them because they were beatable. But so that's what I say. The Niners, I just don't think the coach. I don't think he puts them over there. I just don't see it.
I'm going to wrap up with getting some smarter plays from Mike and Jim. But Vinny, I want to go to you.
Yep.
Somebody that may be listening to this that's maybe a Dom DeMarco's pizza fan and all of a sudden wants to get into betting.
Mm-hmm.
What are tips for somebody that's new to betting and going, okay, I'm listening to all this. I want to start betting the NFL. What advice do you give somebody like that?
Well, listen to podcasts like this and get opinions. And what's valuable in, even though I'm on one side of the counter, these guys are on the other side of the counter. They do their homework. So I have a great deal of respect for their opinions. And I think that certainly garners interest by people. I think a lot of people might find it hard to believe that bettors and bookmakers can actually get along. But something, you need to get along because again, in my 46th year now, this is how I continue to learn by getting respected opinions. I want to know who professionals are looking at and why they're looking at them, right? And then to be fair, I'll let these guys comment on what they look for on our side of the counter. You want to be fair with your pricing and everything like that, and consistent. And if somebody wins, pay them with a smile and be a gentleman about it, or a lady about it in some case. And then just, there's the next set of games coming up. So, but for a novice, the first thing you don't want to do, don't walk up to the counter 5 minutes to kickoff. All right, whatever you do. So and start asking questions because you know what, the 20 people, 30 people behind you just in that one line might they'll pay you to get out of the line. So you're already a winner in that regard. But do your research. You don't have to follow every team. If it's college, maybe you follow one conference instead of 135 teams. If it's the NFL, follow your team and maybe that division. Stay within your means also. Don't look, especially in week one. Everybody, Mike brought up a great point. For 7 months, he's been chomping at the bit, but he's not going to go overboard in week one and try to win, a season's worth of money in 1 week. So pace yourself for sure and know the house rules and know the basics of betting, which is available. So go early, go on a Thursday or before kickoff and ask a writer and make sure that if that place, if they're not courteous to you and explain to you the basics of it, then go find another place.
How much has online betting affected people coming into the books?
Well, I think it's helped it because for years, let's face it, before PASPA was overturned back in 18, we were the only state that had legal sports wagering. So sports was becoming more mainstream. Everybody, what's going on in Vegas, what's happening in Nevada with things. Now, sports wagering is mainstream, right? I mean, you can't watch a sporting event today without a reference during the broadcast, whether it's before, during, or after, as to what the price on that particular event is. So, and online, listen, it's it's helped a great deal because it's accessible. And it's so predominant and talked about, like I said, on broadcast. So it's helped a great deal to promote it. And people might find this surprising too. Since PASPA was overturned, Nevada's handle has grown. It has not declined. So now with 40 jurisdictions in the United States with some type of sports wagering, you would think that we would have declined. It hasn't been the case. And I think that's because of the availability and the acceptance on the part of the public.
Jim, I'm going to come to you one last time. Final thoughts, maybe a smart play for somebody out there.
Well, first of all, I have to say this. We have to be friendly with our bookmakers because after doing this for all these years, your wife is going to throw you out. Okay, going back to PASPA and before that, I've been doing this 60 years. I guess that tells you that I'm older than 60.
65.
65, exactly. They wanted to arrest me because I used to take ads from offshore books, and I was aiding and abetting an offshore or illegal activity. So I had to leave the country for a year to avoid it and had to pay money to get back into the country because now what they're doing now legally, they were telling me I was doing illegally. That's how it's all changed. But being in the business 60 years, things do change. First of all, Mike and I had a little conversation before we walked in here because we know last year we started off a little slow. in our picks. And the reason is, we go back to the Bill Belichick says, these guys are not ready to play football because the CBA, which says you can't hit with pads, you can't do this, you can't do that. These guys aren't ready to play football. So when I come out there week 1 and I want to bet my 3, 4, 5,000 a game, I'm not going to do that because I really don't know what the hell I learned in the preseason because they weren't playing. The coaches weren't playing their starters. The starters weren't playing hard. They didn't. When they went to practice, they were in pads. Who is ready to really play football the way they're capable of? And that's probably week 5. So first couple weeks, I'm betting 500 a game because I realized that it's really a roll of the dice. So right now, off the bat, is slow down your bets. If you're a $100 better, bet 20. Maybe week 2, week 3, go up to 40 or 60, whatever you feel comfortable with. And if you find a team that's really in stroke with what you're thinking they should be, then go with them and follow them. And because as the season progresses, you will learn who is who, what coaches are making the right decisions, what players got hurt, which ones aren't, and focus on the offensive line. It's a key position. Very few people, we talk about Trent Williams, maybe the best in the business. If they don't get him with San Francisco, they're going to be in trouble because Purdy, when he's not playing, he's like 6-30, and that's an exaggeration. You need a good offensive line to protect these guys, or Andrew Luck would still be in the league, okay? Instead of getting sacked 67 times a game or a year, he'd still be playing football. So go slow. This isn't a game. When you're laying 11-10, for Christ's sake, you're already behind the 8 ball. So don't put yourself behind the 8 ball even more by trying to guess what's going to happen. Watch, learn. Every day is a learning experience. Go slow.
Mike, final thoughts.
Well, I'll comment on the Williams with the Niners. This tackle, I believe he sat out a whole year one time. He's made about close to $150 million in the NFL. So if they don't do what's right, Jim, he'll sit out another whole year. He really don't care for the money. He's made the money, and he's a big part. But you want us to give something out to some of the listeners?
Just any kind of smart. If you don't have anything.
I got one.
What is it?
Just bet the Eagles to win the NFC East. Whatever the odds are, just bet it.
Bet the Eagles to win the NFC East.
Bet all you can.
Bet all you can on the Eagles.
Mike Scalleat, once again, thank you for your expertise coming on the show. I look forward to seeing you at the pool tomorrow.
Yes, you will, Tommy. I'll be there before and after yoga.
Vinny, thanks so much for coming on the show and
Great
your
to
expertise and taking some time away from the book.
Great to be here with all of you.
And Jim Fiest, he's the undisputed champion. Albert has his microphone. Albert, you, as I say all the time, you line up heavyweights. You did it once again.
I can't wait to run out and bet the Eagles to win the NFC East.
What is it, about 130?
Taking your brother's advice, going
even.
All the way.
Are you taking his advice and you're going to bet light, or are you going heavy?
$1.40.
I'm going to go heavy on that NFC East, but then I'll take his advice on the rest of it.
You're $1.40. I'll wait for you to play. I won't move it on you.
It's a long-term investment. You're putting money up to win it in January or February. I'll give you one for week 1. This is a shot. What I believe is going to happen in week 1. I do not think Buffalo is ready to play at the level that people remember them to be, because they're not. I'm taking Arizona, and I took 7.
That game's down to 6, so there's Jim leading the way. No doubt. Very good.
Listen, I always remember the first time I met Scotty Scheller. He said to me, remember something, Al, 11 is a bigger number than 10.
Once again, thank you for inviting me to host your podcast. I'm honored to do so.
Tommy, you're the best. Did you tell them about trivia?
No, we didn't do trivia. We do trivia here every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays on the patio, 6:30 to 8:30. And we fill this thing every single week. We give away a $100 gift card for first, and we have giveaways of wine for second place. So it's a hell of a deal. All you got to do is text your team name to 702-670-0012. That is 702-670-0012. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. I'll put a link to all these guys in the show notes, and especially where you can get the best pizza, best Italian restaurant, best outdoor dining. The pasta's incredible. The happiest of happy hours. Dom DeMarco's Pizzeria and Wine Bar, where the wine flows, the good times roll. 9785 West Charleston. And until next time, everybody, my name is Tommy Canale. We will see you on the other side.